Come on down, Tracy. Tracy Mann, Republican District CD1, which is now really, really big. It's always been big. So
bigger.
But thank you for being here, and thank you everybody for being here. This is kind of unique, where we've got 7 of the 8 candidates for the congressional races here. And I mentioned Sharice Davids cannot be here, but we have a DC fly-in next week. She will be there. So it just didn't work out with schedules. So I think you've already seen the rules. So you got 30 seconds. Why did you decide to run for Congress?
Thank you for having me, Alan. Thanks you all for being here. As I look at the country, there's really 3 threats, I think, if you're going to summarize sort of where we're at. We're 248 years into this great experiment that is the United States of America. Our 3 threats are our debt, $35 trillion, China, which we've had our head in the sand, I believe, for far too long. And we've drifted from our basic founding fundamental values of, I would define as faith, family, hard work, personal responsibility, having a border, innovation and not regulation. We have a lot of work to do to get this country back on track, and so that's why I'm running again. And I would just say real quick, I hope tonight we can kind of take it in. I mean, forums like this, we kind of lose sight of the fact that these don't occur in China, in Russia, in Venezuela, in North Korea. Like, how blessed are we that we even get to have forums like this where we have multiple candidates running for the same position peacefully. So pretty incredible, and thank you to the Kansas Chamber for pulling this together.
Good point, and I try to add some humor to this. I think about Caddyshack. Danny, do we live in Russia? No, we don't live in Russia.
You just referenced Caddyshack?
I did. So, yeah, thank you for that. So, Eric, that doesn't count against his time when I do stuff like that. So let's, you mentioned a lot of international things. Trade is a big, big issue for Kansas because we export lots of stuff, ag, airplanes, technology, a lot of manufactured products. And there are conversations now about tariffs, et cetera, and have China been in the WTO? Do you have a particular point of view on trade policies? That's a very broad question.
Very broad question. I've been very frustrated and very vocal with this administration's lack of focus on trade. We have got to continue to focus on trading throughout the world and developing new trade partners. I think about, my district's the number 3 ag district in the whole country.
I thought it was number 1.
We are number 1 for beef production, which I appreciate everybody eating steak. Number 1 for milo, number 1 for wheat, but overall we're number 3. But you look at the importance of trade to Kansas, aviation, but our ag products. And this administration has not had a single new trade deal that they've negotiated, and really a complete lack of focus on trade. We've got to continue to invest there. We've got to think about who should our trading partners be in 2040, 2050, and be working to build those relationships today to be less beholden to China and other countries that wish us ill.
So let me follow up with that. And Shireen guaranteed all the candidates that I'm not going to go off the script, which I'm not going to go completely, except for Caddyshack references. What countries do you think we should have trade deals? We had stuff pending with Kenya, I think, in UK, but what countries do you think?
Yeah, there's
a
lot of opportunity in Africa. Okay. A lot of opportunity in Southeast Asia. You look at the amount of beef grown in Kansas, produced in Kansas, that goes to Japan today, a result of Trump reworking that. Of course, you look at the MCA, relationship with Mexico and Canada. I'm a free trade guy, but we've got to keep our eye on the ball. We've got to realize that when we can add value to our products, not just in the United States, but in Kansas, before we push them out to other states and across the seas, that's good for our state, and we should support that.
Let me ask you some questions about technology. Artificial intelligence is certainly becoming an issue, and there's questions about regulation, but also about how you regulate internet content, et cetera. So I'm going to try to ask these broad questions rather than a specific bill. But do you have perspectives on what Congress should or should not do about artificial intelligence or content moderation and other things that relate to technology and innovation?
Yeah, great question. I mean, I think we got to first off acknowledge that this country our economy is built on innovation, not regulation. And when you take the resources in this country, coupled with the freedoms we have to use those resources to turn a profit that our entrepreneurs and our businesses do, second to none. So my big thing as we think about AI and these emerging technologies, let's make darn sure that we don't overregulate them and push them to other countries. Let's make sure that these things are happening right here in the United States of America. Now, are there some regulations we're going to need on AI specifically, where it's campaign season, right, Alan? And so if somebody creates an ad that has someone else's image on it and it looks like them speaking, but it's not really them, I think, of course, we all would agree we need to prevent that from happening. We need to prevent nefarious actors from doing bad things, but we've got to make sure we do not overregulate and stifle these emerging technologies because we do them better than anyone else, and let's benefit from it.
Let me ask an energy question. I would say the Chamber's position on energy is all of the above, whether it's solar, wind, fossil fuels, or, sorry, another joke, gerbils on a wheel. If that produces electricity, we're for it. Just don't subsidize it. Some of the things that have been discussed at the federal level is to make it easier to produce energy. The Energy Permitting Reform Act for Manchin and Barrasso, Senator Joe Manchin from West Virginia, John Barrasso from Wyoming, but it had to do with transmission and allowing transmission costs to be passed along to consumers. You could answer that however you want, but I'd love your just thoughts about our energy policy. Yeah, and energy is not just gasoline, but it's also production of electricity.
No, absolutely. I'm an all the above guy as well.
Gerbils too?
Canada, gerbils, you name it, whatever it takes, right? But I mean, again, you look at this country, we are so blessed with natural resources here. Why in the world we would have policies in our country that would stifle U.S. energy production to the benefit of Russia and other countries overseas? It makes absolutely no sense to me. So I think we need to make it easier, not harder, to produce energy right here in the United States. That particular bill, Alan, I'm not familiar with. I'd have to look at it. I would say this, as we talk about transmission lines, though, I do think it's very important. We must respect individuals' personal property rights. We need to make sure it goes through a process, and we got to make sure that taxpayer dollars are not being used to take away people's individual personal property rights.
I think I'm looking at Eric. We're probably getting, so the last question, and then you've got a 1 minute to do your closing. Obamacare, what is working or not working? Do you have any thoughts about healthcare insurance or anything else about healthcare? That rural Kansas has some unique challenges, which is most of your district outside of Lawrence. And what do you think the federal government could do?
Yeah, so I represent 60 of Kansas' 105 counties. I have more hospitals in my district than any district in the country. I have more critical access hospitals than any district in the country. We have 58 hospitals in my district. I toured 3 or 4 hospitals last week in the western part of our state. Our hospitals are struggling, and this is a problem today. It's about to become a huge problem. I know for certain that we should not have government mandates through CMS to require certain staffing levels to make it. We need to make it easier for our rural hospitals, all hospitals in Kansas, to care for patients, which is at the heart of what everybody wants to do, not more difficult, more expensive. Specifically, bigger picture, I think we got to figure out how do we have insurance companies able to compete more across state lines. I think that is something, we were told when the Affordable Care Act got jammed through reconciliation that you wouldn't lose your doctor and your health care costs wouldn't go up. Does anyone believe that that's true? I don't think anyone believes that's true at this day and age. But a lot of work we've got to do to keep our hospitals going and to address the health care costs in this country.
So I think we're about final question. So 1 minute. Why should the Kansas business community in your district vote for you to serve them in Congress?
Well, it's a huge honor to get to serve. I'm a kid from Quinter, Kansas. I never imagined growing up that I would, I didn't know places this nice existed, number one. Number two, I never imagined I would meet a member of Congress, much less get to go to work with some. I would say this, fundamentally, I believe that there's an inverse correlation between the size of government and individual freedom. And if you grow government, you're going to shrink freedom. And if you shrink government, you're going to grow freedom. And you look at the size of the federal government, how it's skyrocketed, really for the last 25 years, but especially since COVID. should concern every freedom-loving American, in my view. The other big thing is taxes. All of the Tax Cut and Jobs Act, all those provisions expire here in about 14 months. Rest assured that I'm going to be banging the drum to make sure we extend those and make sure that we make a tax-favorable policies here in the United States, as we're not only to benefit us, but as we compete against countries overseas. So, Alan, thanks for having me.
Tracy, thank you, Congressman. I appreciate you running and appreciate your service.